Hi everyone, welcome back to our second day of the collaboration where we are posting tutorials to cards, Christmas cards that are easy to post. The collaboration is between Monica, Crafting with Quilling Lady, Monica Paper Mona, and myself. Make sure to go over to their channels to check out what they are doing too. So yesterday we did a fun fold card. Today's prompt is traditional Christmas colors. I am working with a 5 by 7 inch card base. And my inspiration for this one came from a Pinterest post I seen quite a while ago. Now I don't have the same supplies. I don't even know what supplies they use, but I'm going to do the most of what I have to create something similar. So from the die cutting magazine that I just showed you, which came with this bow die set, so there's 2 dies. With the outline die, I've cut it out already from this gorgeous glitter card. And with the 2 dies together, so the detail die and the outline die, I cut them out together from this red mirror cardstock. And I'm just going to take the outline bit of this. I'm going to save the rest of that because it's such a lovely deep colored red that I am going to use that for a different project sometime later on in the month. Before I've cut that out of the mirror cardstock, I attached a piece of double-sided sticky adhesive sheet onto the back of that. So I will be just very easily stick that one on top of the glitter card. So I'm just adding, and I will show you a little close-up in here in a minute, how gorgeous this bow looks already. But in a wee minute, I'm just going to reach back, and from the mirror card, I'm going to take out that middle bit for the bow, and I'm just going to add it from the foiled card in there. And this is the bow finished. I absolutely love this bow die set. I used it so many times, and especially on my envelopes or gift boxes. I really love this bow die. I think this is going to be permanently out of my desk because I just seem to be reaching for it quite a lot lately. For my mats and layers, I have 2 pieces of cardstock measuring 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and the other one 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. The smaller one I have embossed with this embossing folder, which is the Blizzard by Chloe's Creative Cards, and it's just lovely snowflake detail. And I'm going to use the side where the snowflakes are raised up. I also have 2 pieces of red mirror card cut to 3/4 of an inch by 6 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/2. And I also brought in the winter foliage die set by Sizzix. And I've cut most of these foliage ones out of green cardstock and the rest of them white. I'll show you now on my camera. I prepared a load of these already off camera, but I'm going to show you what I did. The green card I used is from the Assorted Colors paper pack from Creative Craft Products from Craft Stash. And the berries and that berry-like branch, I cut out just of plain white cardstock. Now I do want to add some color to this, so I brought in some distress oxide ink pads. And I'm going to add a little of these inks, so it's pine needles for this branch-like foliage, but I'm not covering the whole of it. So I'm letting that bright green poke through here and there. I'm just giving it a different tint. It's peacock feathers that I'm going to use for my holly leaves. Again, not going to cover the entire of the leaf. I'm going to leave the middle of that lovely bright green. So while all this foliage has a different tint of a green now, but they kind of tie together still because they are having the same green base. And for my mistletoe, finally, I'm bringing in Lucky Clover, which to me is such a beautiful, it's like a real true green. So I'm just adding it, and I love the shade that it gives to my cardstock in there. So this is what I done to my leaves, and I've preferred off camera a lot more than this because I didn't know how many I will need. For the berries, I brought in some lumberjack plaid, and that is real lovely true red again. I was playing with the idea of the festive berries or the lumberjack plaid, but I decided to use this one for today. I also decided to add a little sparkle to this, so I'm bringing in my pretty pink splatter box and I'm using the Distress Spritz. I love using these sprays. I'm using them all the time now, honestly. So this one is the peacock feathers that I'm adding to all of the holly leaves. And I just 1 or 2 spritzes, that's all it needs. See how it looks dark on the leaf now? When it dries back, it will just leave me with gorgeous sparkles. So the base to these ones is translucent, and this one is the lumberjack plaid. And I'm going to spritz it over my berries just for a little sparkle. I adore these sprays. Honestly, I am using them all the time. If you haven't checked these out yet, you're gonna have to. They are just amazing. I am going to add some detail to these berry branches as well. Of course, I had to tear a little bit off in there. I done about 4 or 5 of these off camera, and this didn't happen. Of course, it has to happen on camera. Murphy's Law. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little bit of a gold detail to these, and I'm using my embossing pen. So it's a pen that has that sticky ink in it that you would use from your embossing pads, and I'm using polished gold embossing powder by Wow. And once I hit set this, it gets that gorgeous gold detail. Now I'm not being any particular what way I am adding this. I'm not going for proper circles. I'm just adding a little bit of a color or a little bit of an ink and then color with the gold to every single one of those. And if you're not happy with the results, once it cools down after heat setting it, you can always come back with a little bit more, which I'm going to do now in here. Once it's cool, I can go back and add a little bit more of the gold powder if I wish. And with this, I am bringing a little bit of a gold into the card. So today for the traditional color scheme, I went with the red, green, white, and gold. And to bring a little bit of a gold to the background as well, I'm going to take the mat, which I've cut to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And I'm just going to rub my embossing pad all along the 4 edges, and I am going to cover it in the same gold embossing powder. And this way I'm making sure instead of using gold mirror cardstock, it is the same gold as the decorations on my card as well. So kind of ties the colors together. Once heat set, using some double-sided adhesive, I can layer it on top of my card base. And then the other panel that I already prepared and embossed with the snowflake embossing powder, embossing folder, was missing a little bit of something for me. It was missing a little bit of a sparkle. So I decided to bring in my brayer with an embossing ink pad, and I just very lightly brayered over the raised areas. I'm not pushing down hard at all. I am applying just very light pressure over the raised snowflakes in there. And the embossing powder I'm going to bring in for this one is the Frosted Glass by Wow. It is a gorgeous one with very subtle sparkle. So it's not as sparkly as the clear sparkle embossing powder would be, or the Silver Snow is another one that I have. This one leaves it just with a very, very subtle sparkle. And I think it just adds a little bit of something that I was looking for. So once heat set again, I can layer this on top of my card base, and I will be left with that 1/8 of an inch of a golden shine on all 4 sides from the layer below, which I've heat embossed with the gold embossing powder. So you can see how it is all coming together. I think it's very, very pretty. So I'm just adding a little bit of pressure from the inside, make sure that the adhesive sticks properly. And then I'm going to add these 2 stripes first of all, and I'm not going to glue the bow down just yet. So I'm using double-sided sticky tape at the back of the 2 stripes, and I am going to just stick them down onto the card base flat. I'm not using any foam pads today. So these cards are, the whole idea of this series of collaboration is to create cards that are easily posted. So I don't want to add too much bulk and too much dimension at all. So I'm not using foam pads today. But in here I brought in all the foliage and all the berries that I have, and I'm just playing about. I think this is what took me the longest in the whole card making, to decide where to add my foliage, and then I decide on an arrangement that I actually end up really, really loving. Now I'm using hot glue just to keep them in place, and I'm making sure that I'm just adding a very little dot. I again don't want to create too much dimension. And also I'm just being mindful that I am not adding the glue more times in the same place, because obviously that would create some more bulk too. And I know that the bow will have to be glued on top of these as well. So in here I'm just playing about with the arrangements, making sure that I keep placing the bow back in place, just so I know that I do like the arrangement. And every now and again I just do come in with my heat tool just to get rid of all the different glue strings from the hot glue in there. And once I'm happy with how the greenery looks, I just glue my bow on top of them. And then I come in and start adding all the berries. So there are 2 different sizes of sets of 3, and then there are singles as well. I'm just going to scatter them all over the greenery in here, adding them here and there. And remember, there's a little bit of a sparkle to those as well from the spritz spray. So yeah, I really am loving how it is coming together so far. And then when all the berries were arranged, I realized that I forgot to leave room for a sentiment. So I had to go search my stash for something small. And this one is one of the latest Craft Essential box kit magazines by Crafter's Companion. And there was the Mary and the word Christmas, and just added them on top of each other. I'm going to heat emboss this using the same gold embossing powder I used before. And I had to search for a small sentiment, obviously, because I didn't leave too much of a room on my card for one. I don't know how I forgot about the sentiment, guys. Oh dear. So with my scissors, I'm just going to cut this down into a rectangle first of all, and then I'm trying to find where to put this, and eventually I do decide to add it just as a little tag under the bow. So my first idea was to add it to the left bottom corner there, but I decided to make it a little tag. I think it just made sense with the present shape kind of a card design. So I added some green ink around the edges of the little tag, and then I'm going to just poke a little hole through it. I added some thread. It's like a metallic very thin thread, and I just added it under that bow, just tucked the metallic thread under the bow as if it was a tag hanging off the present. And now I'm much more happier with it. But I wanted to add some little dimensions, so I brought in my glossy accents and I added it to all my berries. There's a little sparkle from the spritz sprays, and then once this dries, it's still cloudy there, but once this dries, it dries beautifully clear. And I will show you what it looks like the next morning. So this is it. Next morning, daylight, the colors look a bit different now. And I am loving how this turned out. However, it was missing something for me. At first, I could not put my finger on it. I walked away for a little bit, and then I came back and I decided to add some snowy effect on the leaves and the foliage, the berries. To do that, I used my opaque white texture paste and some snowfall glitter. The glitter is from Chloe's Creative Cards. The texture paste is by Ranger. So I just mixed the 2 together, and I just kept adding this and that until I was happy with the consistency. Now that glitter is not going to be overwhelming in there. If I wanted it to be stronger, I would have used the translucent texture paste. However, I was worried that using a translucent one, it would draw up some of the Distress Oxide inks of the leaves, because obviously they are water reactive, and then my snow would have turned green, which was a big no-go. I didn't want green snow. So I decided to go with white. But to be honest, with the lots of sparkle on the bow itself and the subtle sparkle on the background with the bows and then the glossy accents all over the berries, I didn't think that I needed to add too much sparkle at all. So there's a very subtle sparkle in this texture paste that I'm adding, and just being careful not to go on the background or the bow. I wanted to add it all over the foliage and the berries just. And this is the card ready. Of course, the texture has to dry. But here are some close-ups when it's all lovely and dry and ready to be posted. Fits perfectly into a 5x7 envelope, and there's not too much bulk in it at all, so you'll be able to post it as a small letter. I really hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, our day 2 of the 12-day series, and make sure you go over to both of the girls to check out their tutorials as well. I have it linked in the description box below. If you would like to join in with our challenge, just use the hashtag that you can see on my screen now to share on your social media. We would be delighted to see your makes. I really hope to see you back tomorrow for another lovely tutorial. Please, if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, do so, and make sure you hit the notification bell. You will get notified when I upload a new video to my channel. I really hope to see you very soon. Until then, bye!